as I always do. Richard Jordan, International Council for Caring Communities. Thank you to the two host ministries and their representatives for helping facilitate this meeting. Professor Key, certainly I think besides the 12th five-year plan, the Shanghai Declaration out of the Shanghai Expo, and also the speech by Premier Wen Jiabao at the Ministerial Dialogue of Stockholm Plus 40 are important statements concerning the culture, the way that culture can be used to help drive the economy. Are these demonstration cities or the pilot projects also incorporating culture and the way that entrepreneurs can use culture to help create a green economy? Thank you.
Maybe we just collect 2, 3.
My name is Don Hond and I work for the Forest Stewardship Council, and I think I need a decision for you, Chairman, because I would like to say something about this discussion in light of the negotiations that are going on here, because it's a side event to the negotiations. But if you think that's diverts the discussion too much, then I'll be silent.
Maybe you can make your statement in the end before we wrap up.
Yeah, I would like to have an answer to my statement then as well.
Okay.
Go on?
Yeah.
Okay. Because, first of all, I do agree, of course, with Professor Key that we need a top-level commitment to drive green economies, and that's why it is justifiably on the agenda here. But there's a lot of resistance against the way the European Union and South Korea, I would group them, and some other European countries are putting it on the agenda. And the resistance is very much concentrated on this issue of the roadmap. And yesterday, some of us had a very interesting discussion with the head of delegation of Bolivia, which is one of those countries that have some real concerns. And I think it's very interesting to take care of those concerns. First of all, when they say the way it's being presented here is as if we haven't done anything yet. If we now have to adopt a roadmap, then it is not recognizing sufficiently that all things are going on. Secondly, that the countries are working in completely different circumstances. That's also being described here. And G77 is always hammering on this common but differentiated responsibility, and that's of course a quite schematic way of dividing the world, the G77 and the rest. But there was a very interesting other way of looking at how the different responsibilities look like, and that is how you look at the different footprints of countries. And then I think if you can convert the discussion into a green economy, is first of all providing opportunities for countries with a low footprint and obligations for countries with a high footprint, and work that out, I think you can have a quite different discussion. I was also quite happy that there was a specific reference to agriculture, because we tend all the time to talk about energy. But then of course you have here a great opportunity to increase also the credibility of those countries promoting a green economy, because we all the time talk about harmful subsidies, but subsidies that are particularly problematic to countries in Africa and so on, are the agriculture subsidies. So if, for example, the European Union could make here a real gesture to move on with abolition of agriculture subsidies and put that in the framework of greening the economy, I think it would increase quite a lot the credibility. I think we should also probably focus more on green economies as a plural concept, recognizing that it has to be implemented in different countries differently. And I think I found this interesting example of the Green Fund and the Africa Bank. If we talk about countries with a high footprint, that is where the changes have to happen in particular. Countries with low footprint, there the green economy forms opportunities. And we talk, for example, about fiscal reform. Why don't we also talk then about that at least a small part of the revenues of fiscal reform in countries with a high footprint go into such green funds for the purpose of support of technology transfer and so on. I think we need to really define the political agenda for a green economy in such a way.
Yeah, thank you very much.
I'm Ed Berry with the Sustainable World Initiative, and we look at resources in relation to human needs. And I'm just coming from the Planet Under Pressure conference, where 3,000 scientists declared that we're already over-consuming resources, that we're already exceeding planetary boundaries that we're already putting Earth systems and human civilization at risk. I also just recently had the pleasure of meeting His Excellency Ban Ki-moon, and in response to a question about resources, he said the following: "We are burning through global resources in the name of prosperity as if there is no tomorrow." So my question has to do with kind of intergenerational equity, and specifically, if we green the economy, that's wonderful, but historically that's just stimulated economic growth, more material throughput, and more resource use, not promoting conservation. So how do we deal with this conundrum that we all want more development, but yet we're in an oversubscribed plan? Thank you.
Thank you. Very rich debate. I was concerned by excited by the comments from our colleague from China. So I want to ask you that these low carbon cities and provinces, are they linked to the movement of resilient cities, the disaster risk resilient cities, which is also very much prevalent in China? I attended a conference in Chengdu not so long ago. So that's one question. Second question of concern is, when you say that the solar panels are manufactured in an unsafe and unsustainable manner, I'm not sure that I got that right, but that's what I heard you say. I think that points to the need for safe yellow growth as a part of green growth. And too often when we, and this is important because actually solar energy is also transformative and the yellow economy could transform. So I'd like some comments from the think tank people on the need for a blue-green-yellow economy, of blue-green-yellow growth as we move forward, which is also resilient and inclusive.
Thank you so much. I'm Roland Baloy from the Ministry of Environmental Affairs in South Africa. My question is around, we all understand the logic behind transitioning to a green economy, but how to make the rationale around which sectors to abandon so that you could promote this transition, the trade-offs thereof, because there are job and cost implications. You find that sectors which are not good for the green economy are the one which employs so many people. So how to make that judgment around that and to negotiate that across many stakeholders, because you find that based on the structure of governance, for instance, I'm from South Africa, to negotiate that process through your labor federations and all the civil society groupings could at some point result in a social backlash. So how to make sure that you negotiate that process in a way that it's indeed inclusive and find buy-in across.
Okay, thank you very much. Last question, and then we have the challenge that everybody has about 1 or 2 minutes to answer.
Thank you. I'm Rob Wheeler with the Global Eco-Village Network and the World Transforming Initiatives. I want to respond to Ed's comments about exceeding planetary boundaries. I think that we have challenges in both the developed and developing world that we're not really looking at. Because of that, we have this divide between the two different sectors. I don't believe that there's a community or a country on Earth that is really transitioning towards a fully sustainable economy. And that's what we need to get to. And we need to think about what are the prerequisites for creating that type of economy. If we look at that, I think this idea of cradle to cradle and circular economy is a very important concept where there is no waste. All waste becomes nutrients back into the process. Where all production, people need to take responsibility, and companies need to take responsibility, and consumers need to take responsibility so that we no longer are throwing things away, that we continue to see all resources as ongoing capital as well as capital for the earth in order to restore our natural environment. I know that China has a circular economy law. There's a C2C network in Europe. I'm wondering to what extent governments can encourage these type of initiatives through the business in particular in order to transition to a truly green economy.
Okay, Gio, maybe you can start with a yellow, green, blue, purple.
Okay, well, let's start from there. Well, let me just first to clarify, I didn't really mean that the solar panels produced, manufactured in China are, the dirty yellow, whatever color there. But there is a fact we need to point out. Producing the solar panels consumes a lot of energy for one thing, and may also emit other kind of environmental pollutants and technologically. And but using those solar panels really produce clean energy. Therefore, it is really important to recognize the link between the two. In my understanding of green economy, that's including the greening the current industry. In China, industrial development is really the most important sector contributing to the GDP development and consuming the most part of the energy. Most of the energy consumed and the carbon emitted from China is really from the industrial sector, the producing sector, right? 2/3 of that from production and 1/3 roughly from consumption. So that which is very different than developed countries. So I think your idea of considering the yellow, brown, whatever the color there, it's a very important element for green economy. And if I look at the UNEP report, that by the way, that is already included there. I don't really distinguish them in a fundamental way. So back to the culture question. I think culture is considered to be a very, very key element in cleaning the economy. There are several different layers. First, and culture is treated as part of this the service industry and tertiary industry. There, if you look at the low carbon or green plans of these low carbon cities, and they almost universally consider this is this very, very important element there. But I think the culture personally, I think this has more fundamental use in promoting this green economy. If we put it in this broader background, that's science, education, and the culture, it's really the key element there to for us for these innovations. Because we do need innovation not only technologically but also institutionally. Culture is there; it has a key role to play. Thirdly, I think culture is important. It has to do with to cultivate and also help the people to build consensus. Really what we want for the economy, for our life. Right? This is related to the question there. Because we almost always think every demand is reasonable. Every demand should be met in the economic system. But I think the discussion about culture, it really helps us to think philosophically, what we really want, and then build a new kind of aspiration for a good life. So I see that it is it's quite exciting. There are some exciting debate and contemplating there in the younger generations. Because it is true. It is true. If we try to meet these goals of doubling GDP in 5 years, I mean there is no way we can. I mean, of course we have this planet boundary issues. So we need to think about the. So I think it's really we need to define really what we want. What merit to be a good life. A happy life. There has been a very interesting discourse conversations inside China about one is GDP index, growth index, and the other one is this thinking about the happiness and are we better off really? So I think this is I mean this is also all related. But we have I guess there are some other questions that need to right yeah.